G'day, welcome back to Rip's Garage. Another beautiful day in paradise here, and we're working on the Gemini again. Now, the footage that you're going to see today is rust repair stuff in the footwells. We discovered the rust in last episode, and it is from a little while ago. I sort of work on the car when I've got time, and then I edit all the videos when I've got time. So it is from a few months ago, back when COVID sort of first hit our shores, and there was a big panic about being locked down and not having access to equipment or tools. You're going to see a bit of rust repair, a bit of welding, and I hope you enjoy. Thanks for watching. So continuing on with the rust repair, I've pulled the I guess you'd call them the fabric panels or something that sit up against the firewall. That's the one that goes around the pedals. You can see where there's cutouts for the pedals, and that's the one that goes up the passenger side. And on this one you can see along here it's had water damage, and it's really quite badly moulded on the back there. So I've pulled them out and I'll probably replace them with something different. The plastic line is still pretty good. I mean, that'll clean up, and I'll probably just get some different underlay and see if I can glue it in. But I had to take that off because what we're going to do is try and repair the rust in the floor pans. Now, I've already neutralized all this rust here with rust converter, so that's why it's gone black and this sort of grey colour. And I'm just waiting to do the other side as well before we tar it all up. So I noticed this the other day when I was doing the wiring on this side. Just get a torch on that. You can see, torch flickering a bit. You can see how bad it is here. It hasn't actually gone through the pan yet, I don't think. But it is really quite flaky. It's not very good at all. So what I'm going to do is chip away at all that, get back to sort of bare metal, and assess it, see how bad it is. You can see that there is a fair bit of tar up here, but it seems to sort of stop along that seam line. So yeah, I'll get a blade or something, or a screwdriver, and chip all this away and see where we're at. There looks to be the worst of it, and it's not that bad, not as bad as I first thought. I think this is all fresh surface rust from sitting out in the rain a couple of weeks ago, which was why the floor mats were all wet. And you can see this sort of lighter colour stuff here that I'm shining the torch on. That looks like rust in the past that's been neutralised, and then they covered it all up with tar, because this stuff here is not fresh. But it's all bumpy, like you'd find after you scrape rust off a steel surface or something. So now that I've gotten the majority of the tar off, I'll have to keep going up till I get to sort of bare metal up the top there and on the sides. But what I'll do is I'll pull these plugs out. They've just got 2 screws holding them in, and then I'll get a wire wheel, get all the surface rust off I can, and coat it with rust converter, just like I did on that side there. And once it's all done, I'll paint some of that sound deadener on. Now the sound deadener is different to the stuff that was already on there. The stuff that was on there, they sort of laid down in sheets. You can see one here. That's a sheet there. You can see this sort of sharp edge that I'm running the torch along. And the problem with sheets is that they're great for sound deadening. They're big heavy tar sheets that you can lay down and they stick really well. But the problem is water can get under them. It is better to paint the surface like I'm going to do, and that way you don't have any seams for water to go in. Just to give you an idea of how much rust I sort of got out of it, that's all the old tar sheets that were stuck to the floor pan. You can see they're quite thick, and yeah, they really let the water get in under them. So there you go. Got my isolation snack station there, cup of tea and a Lamington. Should keep me going. Right, so I've pulled those bungs out. the drain bungs out of the floor pan, and I've given it a bit of a hit with a wire wheel. This over here, this sort of darker colour, that's actually the paint from the floor pan, and then you can see underneath it you've got bare metal, and I think that that's actually galvanised. To me that looks galvanised as opposed to just bare steel, which is probably why it's in such good condition. But what I have found, and I'll grab the torch and shine a light on it, is a little hole right there. Similar thing to the other side, and I believe that's where all the water's been coming from. So I'm not sure if I explained this before, but this floor pan meets the firewall, and you can see where all this sort of seam seal has been applied. But behind it is another sort of section, and it actually forms part of the chassis. So over here you got the chassis rail, and the chassis rail sort of flows outwards and then curves around here, and there's actually a couple of different layers of metal. And what's happening is somewhere up above, water's coming down between the layers, and it's pooling and it's coming into the car there. So I've definitely got to block that hole up. Probably going to have to pull all of this seam sealer off and get right back down to bare metal wherever I can and block up any small holes there are. Similar situation on the driver's side. A little bit worse actually. You've got a lot of holes there, right in the same spot, and that's actually quite thin, so I might need to cut it out and re-weld, or I might cover it up with fiberglass. It'll depend on what's easiest for me, because I don't want to take everything out. I don't want to have to take the brake booster out and go to the other side and pull half the engine bay out and get all these pedal boxes out. We'll just see what's the easiest solution. But in terms of the actual floor pans, they're both in quite good nick. You can see this one's been replaced before. There's the weld line up here and across there. The factory pan doesn't have that sort of shape. But yeah, quite happy overall. So I'll throw some rust converter down on this, and we'll see about clearing that away to see if there are any other holes, and then we'll figure out a repair. Alright, so I'm very glad that I did have another look at where the holes were, because I found, similar to the other side, there's actually a lot of rust in the chassis rail. So that bit that I'm shining the light on, that you can see behind the floor pan there, that's actually part of the chassis of the vehicle, and then the floor pan is welded to that, and then the firewall up here is welded to that as well. And you can see water has been coming down somewhere, I believe on the inside, and has been pooling in there. And when I was sort of chipping away at that, it was like digging dirt. It's just completely crumbling away. So I think what I'm going to have to do is actually cut a section of this out and see how bad the rail is underneath, and make a determination from there once I've cut a section out. Best way to do it would be to weld in steel, but I might use fiberglass, we'll see. And I had a little exploratory dig up over here, because that's a spot the water can pool on as well. And underneath the tire was just nice metal with the paint still on it, so that hasn't been affected. You can see the brown colour of the original panel up there. So really it's just this section here, basically exactly the same as on the other side. So I'll get the grinder out, cut away, and then we'll come back and have a look. That's what I was talking about. That there is the chassis rail that actually bellows out, sort of thing. And then what we're looking at behind it is the sort of engine bay side of the firewall, and then it's double skinned. So this here you can see up here is the car or the cab side of the firewall, and so water gets down in there, and it's got nowhere to go. That's looking alright. I reckon what I'll do is I'll see if I can patch that what's it called, the chassis rail there, and then I'll cut a square or a triangular panel to replace this here, and see if I can weld it in. My welding skills aren't the best, but we'll see how I go. Alright, I would say that what's been happening is the water's been running down here, pooling along the top here, and sitting right where the edge is between the floor pan and the chassis rail. And it's rusted holes in the chassis rail, and it's eventually rusted holes in the floor pan and come into the car itself. So what we want is to repair that up, repair the floor pan, and make sure that when water comes down, it just drains down the inside there and goes down. So to give you a better idea of what we're looking at here, water comes in through these vents, gets down on the bulkhead there, the firewall, goes down this channel, flows down here onto the chassis rail, and it basically follows the chassis rail down, and that there is where we just cut that little slot out. You can see the bit that I cut out and the scrape marks from my screwdriver as I pried it up. So once we repair the chassis rail and put a new patch panel in there, it should be good to go. And the same thing's happening on the other side, except on this side you've got the brake booster in the way and all the pedal box and all that sort of stuff, so I don't really want to have to take all of that out. So I might try and do a bit of a temporary repair on that side and see how we go. So I got myself a Bossweld welder, and it's an MST 185, so it does MIG, stick and TIG. Now it doesn't come with all the accessories, like I don't think it comes with the TIG accessories, but it does come with the MIG torch and the stick handle. So I'm going to open it up. I actually bought this a little while ago from Bunnings just because it was quite a good deal, and I haven't yet opened it, but I'm going to need it to do the rust repair on the Gemini. So we'll open it up and see what it comes with, and we're going to head over to Bunnings and grab some supplies, because apparently today's the last day before they shut down for the lockdown. Awesome, too easy.
So it's an argon CO2 mix for MIG gas.
Perfect.
Okay, look, so what I'll do, we're doing a free of charge for you because it's going on a D plan today.
Yep.
Okay.
And BOC is just going to send me the bill?
Yeah, BOC will send you the bill, just pay the bill. In the first year you get a free refill, so you know if you use this bottle within a year, come back, your next bottle's free.
Oh, excellent.
Alright, then after that it's just $108 every time, mate, so...
Too easy.
Beautiful.
So what are you guys called?
Bilber Industries, so a welding supply shop in Kirrawee in Sydney.
Perfect, thank you.
No worries.
Too easy, that was heaps easy. Alright, so I got my gas there, Argo Shield. Now it turns out that they didn't lock us down, we're not in phase 3 or anything, so I didn't have to rush to the shops. Bunnings is still open, but one problem I had was Bunnings was absolute chaos. There were lines to get in there, we had to hand sanitize to get in, there was security. They didn't have much stock, but what I did get was these knee pads, because crawling around inside the car is doing my knees in, so that should help a fair bit. I also got this finger sander, because, or file sander I should say, and a couple of spare belts, because I was a bit worried about how I was going to get an angle grinder down into the sort of footwells there. So that should help me grind down on the chassis rails, and then I'll be able to put the floor pan plate over the top. What else did I get? I got this fast grip contact adhesive, and that's just so that I can, once it's all sound deadened and I've got the bitumen down there, I can stick some contact adhesive and get underlay and carpet and you know, those cutouts for the firewall back in place. Now the gas bottle, that was a big issue. I didn't actually end up getting gas from Bunnings. Bunnings wanted $300, I think it was $2.99 for a D-sized bottle, which is just insane. I think that's a $200 deposit plus the $99 worth of gas. I ended up going to this place called Bilba Industries in Kirrawee. They were absolute champions. It cost me $108. I can keep this for a year. If I use it all up before the end of the year, I get another free bottle. I just have to pay for the gas. Otherwise, each year I can go back and pay $108, and all you need is a BOC account. So you go to the BOC website. Very simple. Took me about 2 seconds. Just had to chuck my license number in there, my name. Honestly, like 2-3 seconds, I had an account going. Didn't have to pay a cent. They invoice you later. It was just the easiest thing in the world. So now I'm all set up. I'll get the welder out, set it all up, and we can get to welding.